Okay, so for this project, I want to build something that'd be a, kind of a survival multi-tool type thing. Something you can, strap on your bug out bag or throw in your truck for when you go camping, or just so you can show off to all your friends to show how much of a prepper you are. That sort of thing. Anyway, I've seen these things kind of floating around online, and this is one of those in concepts, not a bad idea, but most of them are just, cheap stainless steel, and then they charge $400 for them. So anyway, I decided I'm going to forge my own. And to start with, my main blade is going to be forged from this, ow, that's still hot. It's a piece of leaf spring off of a dump truck. So they're pretty thick. I'm going to hammer it out itself to kind of lengthen it out a little bit. I'm going to forge one side into an axe head, the other side into kind of a hammer. I'm going to make my handle out of this pry bar. I was going to, just make it from scratch, but then I realized why, reinvent something when I already have a handful of these scrap that have been given to me. So I'm just going to cut off a chunk of it. I don't know whether I'm going to use that end or that end and just, hammer it down into more of a handle shape. Because I definitely want to have like the kind of pry bar thing to it. Or is it a pry? It's actually a crowbar. Did I call it a pry? I don't know. This is a crowbar. Anyway, I'll be able to, pry stuff with it. I don't know if I'm just going to use it plain, flat end here or that. It'll probably take me a little bit to actually hammer that to where I want it anyway. So I'm not really in any big hurry to figure that out. So I'm going to go heat up the forge and start hammering on this, and that's what I do. I have to hot cut a hole into it to insert the handle. And this will be something that I have my new forge for. If you've been watching, that had been uploaded a couple weeks ago, I think. At least 2 or 3 weeks ago. And since this isn't going to be able to fit my normal knife making forge, beyond just probably as I'm making it, heat treating it's going to be a little big. So, so we'll have a wider forge. So I'm going to quit talking and start running the forge. It's going to be hot because it's like 90 degrees out here. Okay, now that I have a hole, hot cut through it. Pretty much ruined my hot cut tool, but it was just the end of a tire iron anyway, so, should probably make a good one of those. I'll get to that later. So now I'm going to take my crowbar here, cut off a chunk of it here, bend that part to where it's not, a hook. Hammer the edges of it flat a little bit, so that way, you can actually hold on to it instead of, having this round object. Then shape it to where it fits into that hole, and then have to forge weld them together. And from there, I just have to forge out the head of it to where it's not, just still a chunk of steel. For that, I'm definitely have to use the bigger forge because this barely fits in that forge. So, yep, got to go back to work. Quick change of plans. I'm going to use the actual prying side instead of the nail removing side. The more I thought about this is a survival tool, not a carpentry tool. So you really don't need to be removing nails. Probably. So yeah, using this side. Gonna hammer it flat to where it's more of a handle, forge weld into that. Need to get some borax first because I ran out a while ago. And don't forge weld often. Yep. Okay, now that I have my 2 pieces made, got my hole mostly cut in, I have to drill out a little bit, and then grind this where it fits a little better. And again, you kind of want to smooth out the inside so you don't have this oxidized surface. And then I can heat them up to an insane temperature and forge weld them together. I think it's like 2,000 degrees or something like that. I'd have to double check, but it's really, really hot. Like, it would burn you and you wouldn't even feel it, levels of hot. So after 2 forge welding attempts, I finally have it hopefully holding. It still seemed to move a little bit, so I'm kind of skeptical a bit, especially because I have tack welds in place. So that might be what's holding it. Hopefully it isn't, but we'll have to wait and see. I'm going to take it and kind of refine the shape a little bit. And of course I'll have to fix a little bit up on the forge. I'm hoping that I just grind a little bit off of that. And I'm thinking about me just cleaning up the surface of the wire wheel and kind of leave that forged look. And of course, once I finish grinding, I just want to grind it because I have to remove from the top. So if this weld that's here is holding it in place, I can test it from there. If that doesn't hold, I'm probably gonna have to just really weld it in place or drill a hole and put a pin through it. I hope that doesn't have to happen, but we'll have to see. Although my test, the first time that I actually broke it, I don't know if it'd be classified as abuse for an axe, but for a lot of blades it would be. I basically just took this stump here that I used for dishing and just hammered it into it. You can actually see the marks. It's pushing against concrete, so there's 0 give to it. And at the time, this wasn't even forged out, so I basically had about a 1/2 inch to almost 3/4 chunk hitting on it, and there's no digging into it. So I'm gonna take the angle grinder and see if I can clean this up. So after I got done grinding, I just kind of cleaned it up a little bit with actually the flap disc on angle grinder. I didn't really want to have to go through all the grits with a belt sander because this isn't a knife that's not really too important. Especially because beyond the actual cutting edge and the head of the hammer, I'm not going to clean them up afterwards because I want them to kind of still have this sort of forged look. It's still a bit warm. So basically what I've left to do is I have to clean up the handle a little bit. As you can see, that's kind of flattened a smidge from trying to hammer that in place. And I don't know how well you can see, but the handle is bent a little bit. Again, yeah, I think this was actually bent while I was forging it on, and I didn't get a chance to really fix it. So what I'm going to do is fix the handle, get it back where I want it. Then I'm going to heat treat the hammer or the axe head, and then heat treat this. Normally I would say, since the axe head is more important, it probably needs heat treated first. However, since this is a much larger piece, it's going to take way less to heat treat this, and probably the heat coming off might temper this a little bit, but probably not as much as it will to, you know, heat treat that. So, and of course, you know, like right along here, you're going to want softer anyway, so that way it's, you know, absorbs the shock of hitting a nail or chopping wood. So it's going to be a little better just kind of all around to do it that way, I think. I mean, I could be wrong. That's just my opinion. If anyone has any better ideas, let me know. I'm always willing to learn. But so far, I haven't had this loosen up. I was hammering it, this wasn't ground in yet, into my log. As you can see, I put some pretty nasty marks in it. And again, that was completely blunt. As you know, there's no axe head, so it was basically taking all the shock from it. There was no slowing down, nothing, and it held up. So hopefully heat treat, it'll stay together. It's always my biggest problem with forge welding. I'm not the greatest at it, so I'm always afraid something's gonna break on me. And while swinging a few times, you know, I put as much force I could to it, hoping that that didn't fly off and hit me in the face. So I'm gonna go just kind of straighten this up a bit. Probably won't film that because it's gonna be just, you know, me holding in pliers and bending it a little bit. Then I'm going to, you know, heat treat the whole thing and then temper. Thing is heat treated and tempered. I had some issues keeping the handle straight, but it should work pretty well for what I need it for. I'm going to take some paracord. Already started to unwind because I already started winding it up. I'm going to wrap it probably starting about here and wrap it probably about halfway up the handle. I still want to keep the forged look, so I'm going to, you know, leave that. I'm also going to mix up a bit of JB Weld and just put along here so that way it stays down. I've had issues with just plain paracord wrap handles and they don't really stay in place. It shifts a lot, and that's not really what I want. So I'm going to just probably mix it up right on here, so that way it just, you know, I don't have to worry about a bunch of different stuff. Actually, I'll probably clean up that a little bit with just a flap disc, so I have bare metal instead of this finish on it. And then just wrap up my handle, and this will be done. Yeah, I didn't plan this out very well. I'm about to get JB Weld all over my hands. Did not plan this out well at all. Okay, I'm still on camera. There we go. Got a nice survival hatchet tomahawk thing, and yeah, pretty much speaks for itself, really. Now just basically ready for the apocalypse, or the woods, or showing off to your friends. You know, whatever the case may be. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed and hope to see you in the next video.